Hi everyone, this is Vivek Shrivastava. Welcome to my channel Journey of an Entrepreneur. And today we have a special guest episode. We have Nishant Mittal with us, who is a serial entrepreneur and a musician and a music composer. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of valuable insights from him today. So thank you for joining us, Nishant. Please give us a little background about yourself and your startup.
Okay, so I've been into entrepreneurship and music and reading and writing a lot for a long time. Started my first company when I was in college, first year. That was called Testament. The Testament initially began as a journal, weekly journal for tier 2 universities. So what we realized was that we were not from IITs, and everybody who was not from IITs was judged in a very, very different light.
Yes.
In fact, we saw that in economic times, whenever a person was from IIT, success story, of course, if it's economic times, it's a success story. Person, if he was from IIT, they used to mention it in the headline itself, like IIT Madras people or IIT Delhi people or IIT Bombay people do this.
Right.
If the person was not from IITs, you never knew which college he was from. Forget about the headline, they didn't even used to write the college name in the entire article itself. You know?
Oh yeah.
And it still happens. So that was the problem we were solving. We said that 99% of people are not going to go to IITs.
Yes.
So we should be branding the tier 2 universities and colleges, the talent in those colleges and universities, so that they can have a level playing field as far as market access and visibility and employability is concerned. So that's how we began as a company, Testament. When I was in first year, we started with the journal, the print publication, the weekly tech business techno management journal.
Mm-hmm.
And we were the first in the country to do that. And we got covered by a lot of newspapers and stuff. We got 12,000 paying subscribers for our journal.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who were funding us, the university itself, the college management, they pulled the funds for some reason. And because we were an independent media entity and they sort of didn't like that, then we pivoted a lot. And after multiple pivots, we found our niche in manpower outsourcing. So we had this huge network of students across the nation. We thought, let's utilize this network for projects, as far as the companies are concerned. Like companies can hire these talented, enthusiastic college students for their market research, their sales, their marketing activations.
Right.
And we could manage those projects using these children. And these students will get a lot of money because these projects were paid. So at the time, people were doing free internships all the time, and we were paying like 20,000 a month for a marketing activation because it was a proper project, right?
Yeah.
So that was Testament, and that really clicked. So by the time we were graduating, we were doing like 1.2 crores in revenues with 20 lakh PAT. Bootstrap, never raised money even from our parents. We grew and we set up an office in Mumbai. We were already in Delhi. Our team expanded. So that was Testament. After a while, when we grew, we realized that it's a service business, it's an ops business. And yes, it'll be a profitable business, it'll keep growing slowly and steadily. Though we grew very fast, 6 lakhs, 36 lakhs, 1.2 crores. We realized that if we want to grow from 1.2 to 100, we need to have some sort of product portfolio, where we have a solid product which sells and scales. And that's how we began investing in products. We created a social network for artists. That was the last product that we did. Before that, we created a crowd-based advertising platform, a crowd-based recruitment platform. So using it was some really nice technological stuff, crowd-based recruitment platform that really worked as well. Then, but these three products didn't actually work. One after the other, they failed and they drowned a lot of money. That was almost we around 40-50 lakhs of our own cash, which we had generated in our journey.
So, Nishant, let me just clarify for viewers. Before these products, you said there was some revenue being generated or no? Or it was just the valuation that was that many crores?
No, it was revenue. We were bootstrapped. What kind of valuations would we
So what was your revenue channel before those three products?
Manpower outsourcing thing. That's what I told you, right? We used to do projects for companies.
We
used to utilize the student workforce.
Yeah.
And we used to activate our forces across the nation. So people, whenever companies were looking forward to go on ground or telephonic or ad hoc projects related to.
So why not grow that? So why not grow that as opposed to go for a product? Yeah.
Yeah, because that was service business. It was ops intensive. It was service business.
Okay.
And it could grow. And it was growing. We were already at, almost a 2 crore kind of a stage. And we had just graduated from college, but it couldn't have grown that way. And, service businesses don't grow like that. So, service businesses have a ceiling to how fast they can grow, and they're very ops intensive. So, if you are in an ops intensive space, if you are in a service business, then you can only grow slowly and steadily. What we were young people and we wanted to grow really fast. So we created products, because tech products, that was just before the tech boom of this country in 2016-17. So it was just like at the cusp of growth. So we were essentially, what we did at the Testament was, let's say Uber wants to onboard drivers in a new geography. It can't go and hire people in that geography. It'll have to outsource that so that it doesn't end up hiring and firing people, right? Because driver onboarding is a task that once you're done with it, you can't just have all those people, right? We used to onboard drivers for Uber with our freelance workforce.
Really?
Yeah. So Uber, let's say MobiKwik wants to onboard merchants, Paytm wants to onboard merchants.
Nice.
Business exhibition companies used to onboard visitors. All sorts of. So a lot of companies. Essentially, we were working with 150 companies. 150 people every day used to be working on ground on our payroll. Telephonically, and so we were the feet on street and the feet on call, like ears on call for these companies.
Nice.
We developed a network of 1,500 people who had worked with us. So the network was huge, but these 1,500 people had been paid by us.
So like Uber would pay you and you would pay them, or was that?
Yeah.
So you were kind of a recruiting company almost, in a sense.
Not recruiting. It was an outsourcing project.
How? Okay, project.
It was a project. We used to execute the entire project, the marketing.
Got it.
Market research, the sales, proper projects. So we used to be on the ground, getting those drivers, getting those customers, getting those visitors. Like Urban Clap used us for, their partner acquisition. They used to get all the salons and music schools and all sorts of.
So these companies like Urban Clap and Uber the project would be get us 1,000 drivers or something like that.
Yes. Get us 1,000 drivers. Then, like, we want to explore Delhi. So how many people can we reach out to in Delhi? So we used to do all the scoping and all the research, and then we used to go on ground and get those people for us with our resources on ground. So it wasn't a recruiting play; it was essentially a market acquisition engine. So
nice, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it was real hard work and good stuff.
But did you say it failed? I think earlier you had said that the products not so much failed.
This wasn't the product. This was the service. After this service, we built products which didn't work.
Okay.
This is the thing which got us all the money, right? Okay. So we could build the products.
Okay.
This is the thing which grew into a multi-crore company by the time we were graduating from college. Bootstrapped, never raised money.
I know, that's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome.
So this is that thing that allowed us to build products.
Got it. Yeah, I can see though what you mean by it would be quite, operationally intensive and all of that, because you have to handle all these, like a project where Uber says bring a thousand drivers to us, you have to get all of them, manage all of that. Like, yeah, I can see how that could be very, very challenging.
Yeah, it was challenging, but we used to do it, and we had a lot of people working on the ground, and
Right. Yeah.
uh, it was a profitable, sustainable business, and we were very happy with it. But at the time, we figured out that we want to do something very scalable,
Hmm.
because service businesses can grow. We could have scaled it to 5 CR, 10 CR in like 5 years, 10 years, and 20 CRs. But we wanted to. We were seeing all these tech companies going crazy, right?
Right.
So we also wanted to build product because we were engineers, and though we had the mindset of building sustainable companies and profitable companies, all the books I had read were of entrepreneurs who believed in sustainability, who believed in profitable growth.
Right.
This whole VC thing seemed a little off to us. However, we were excited by the opportunity of creating good products
Absolutely.
which could scale. And
Nishant,
so
what year was this happening in?
I graduated in 2015 mid, so this was happening in 2016-17.
Okay. So before
Yeah.
pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, yes, pre-COVID. We did all these projects in 2018, 17, 18 and 19 essentially. 17 and 18 entire. So from 17 and 18 we invested a lot on these three products that I told you about. The crowd-based recruitment, crowd-based advertisement, and then our own social network to help artists monetize their work, like creators. So that was the time, 2018, creator economy wasn't the buzzword. We were early in the market. Creator economy is what we created. We wanted to help people monetize their work online. So we found out that people can grow a lot of their following and everything, but at the end of the day, they need to come offline to make money, right? And we wanted to help them create monetization channels for their work. So that was very interesting. Cred, CREAD. We used to call it Cred before the Cred startup big one came along, and it went well, but not really.
Yeah.
We couldn't raise money for these things from the investors that we were hoping for. Then essentially we sort of winded up these products.
Okay.
Then I started in 2019 something called Spot Health. It was a social network focused on health, and we had cloud kitchens as a means to monetize the social network. And the social network was feeding the cloud kitchens were feeding the social network, and so on. It was like a synergic.
For the users, can you expand on cloud kitchens? What do you mean cloud kitchens? What exactly is that?
Cloud kitchens are delivery only kitchens, the delivery only food outlets.
Got it. So you can't go and sit and eat there,
Yeah,
but you
fine dining.
like the dabbawalas in a sense, almost.
Dabbawala is not a cloud kitchen. Dabbawala is a network. It's a P2P network of
Correct.
that's not a cloud kitchen. Cloud kitchen is proper restaurant which is operating as a warehouse of making food.
Got it.
It doesn't have sitting space. It doesn't have a storefront,
Okay.
and that those things can
Sure.
be delivered.
So
So we had our cloud kitchens who were feeding the social network for health. The social network for health was a customer acquisition channel for the cloud kitchen. So it was like an upward spiral that we were doing. 2019
Got it.
began that.
So, were these kitchens specific towards making healthy food?
Yeah. They were
So-
absolutely healthy. We had a
Right.
lot of research.
Right.
We ourselves worked in DRDO, and we had a device which could grow sprouts at Siachen. So when we brought that device over to moderate temperatures and climates like Delhi and Pune and Mumbai, we found out that those sprouts were like this long, and they were like 3 times more nutritious than regular sprouts.
Nice.
Protein content, the omega-3,
Yeah.
the mineral content, the vitamin content. So these
But you know
sprouts
what?
had
Yeah, but you know what? The one thing, the Indian culture is not so much. I'm talking about the mainstream, right? Like for example, my mom, she is more about the traditional Indian sort of dal chawal, that sort of sabzi type of thing, and the whole thing about eating sprouts and this kind of healthy food is kind of not so much part of Indian culture. Probably the younger folks, maybe Gen Z and all that, but kind of the older population, I think, is so much more set in their ways in terms of what they want to eat. Right?
Absolutely, you're right. Nobody wants to eat healthy. However, at that time, even now, people sort of start believing that there's an inclination towards healthy food, right? So we used to make momos, but healthy,
right?
Burgers, but healthy, everything absolutely extraordinarily healthy. So we believed in that time that a lot of people would be interested in the healthier alternative of something mainstream. So we were not selling sprouts as sprouts. Our momos, our noodles, and our all sorts of material, every ingredient was extremely healthy. And sprouts was the core thing. So we believed that people will be very interested in healthy food, because now you see a lot of healthy snack companies coming along and so on and so forth, right? So that was what Spot Health was doing, and we were doing really well. In 2019, we scaled to 4 food carts, 2 cloud kitchens, one in Delhi, one in Gurgaon. We were going with the third one, but then COVID happened.
Right.
2020.
Oh, yeah.
That was extraordinary, and there was no saving us from COVID actually, because first it happened, the first wave, then we survived, then we were holding it. Then there was the second wave, then we held it. We kept growing there. Then there was this third wave.
Right.
And then we realized that okay, maybe there's something better for us.
Right.
Because the whole healthy thing, as you're mentioning, is an uphill task anyway.
Right. Yeah.
People want to eat chole bhature, people want to eat all sorts of junk. And Indians,
Well,
they don't care
well,
about
not even it's not even the junk part of it, but it's just sort of the style of it. Like I want
No, it's
dal.
proper junk.
No. Even
I'm
the
not talking
people.
about dal chawal.
Yeah.
Dal chawal is healthy, right? Your home food is healthy.
Yeah. No, but what I mean to say is, they want to eat that that traditional sort of thing, as opposed to this sort of newfangled sprouts or whatever sort of a thing, momos. Or they won't.
I mean,
A lot of the.
it's not about momos or anything. It's about Western food.
Ah.
India has a lot of cuisines.
Right.
If you look at McDonald's is burgers and fries and stuff. So they are not traditional Indian food. Domino's, it's pizza. Subway, it's
Yes, but
sandwiches.
all those are recent sort of things.
These
These
are
are
recent actually. It's been more than a decade since McDonald's and Domino's. They've been here for 2 decades now. They're not recent.
right. No, but what I mean is, like someone like my mom, she just wants the dal chawal, that paradigm. If you see what I mean. Yeah,
That's your mother's demographic, of course. But there's a lot of new things happen. So when you look at teens, pre-teens, early teens, mid-teens, mid-20s, mid-30s, early 40s. So those people are very experimental. Those people want to experience all sorts of new things.
Right.
And we wouldn't be catering to people that age, we wouldn't expect them to suddenly start eating momos, because that's not the only demographic, firstly,
Correct.
the market. And also, it's not our market.
But my point is, couldn't you have incorporated that into traditional Indian food? Like, so for example, dal with sprouts in it, as opposed to making a Western dish. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. Do you think that might have worked?
No. Because people who used to eating dal and all, they barely order. The traditional appetite is very traditional. They don't want it to fiddle with it,
Okay.
So what we realized was, when people are eating some sort of things, they have a set expectation. You can experiment with something new, but if you are selling conventional food, it has to be conventional.
Okay.
Very conventional.
Right.
And So food was just one angle of Spot Health. Food was essentially the monetization bit.
Okay.
It was essentially a tech play, the social network for health. So we used to be like Bumble for health. Sports dating was a concept that we introduced. So people used to organize sports dates, and they used to invite people and meet up for cycling rides and so on. So we had the largest cycling community in Delhi, and that was awesome. So, but all said and done, after COVID, what happened was after I got the first vaccine in 21st July 2021. I got tinnitus and hyperacusis. They're a disorder of the ear. Your ears start ringing and continuously, and in hyperacusis, small noises like the door slams or the fan, it starts hurting your ear.
Wow.
And I was on steroids for 3 months, and it was extremely difficult for me. And I got on medication, heavy medication.
Oh no.
And I was extremely unwell.
Oh.
And so I was like, probably now is the time to hang up a little.
Right.
And that's why I shut down Spot Health.
Nishant, can I ask one thing though? I would have thought though that with your delivery model with Spot Health for the food, it would have actually exploded with COVID, because that's what happened to like the Zomatos and Swiggies, right? And anything
Not
that
really.
Oh really?
Everything got shut down.
Well, obviously.
Food delivery.
No, right. During the very, very intensive lockdown period, yes. But, things like, at least in other countries, for example, these kind of work at home tools like Zoom and so on, the Zoom just skyrocketed. The stock just went crazy. So I was just wondering, and my point is this, that could you have leveraged COVID somehow to actually turn that situation to an advantage or no?
Of course, that's the goal of everybody, whoever is in the business, that, let's look at it as an opportunity. And we did. So we incorporated telemedicine on our platform. So doctor consultations were happening on our platform, on our app. And, all sorts of things we started selling, and, we worked it out. Even the food deliveries, we brought them. They didn't come back for a long time.
Okay.
For a long time, they were like very, very, very low.
Okay.
And everything was absolutely screwed.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I was like, okay. So we ended up shutting down Spot Health in 2021, December. January to 2022, I was free. And, then I started exploring ideas about what I should do. And then came Seneca. After I fiddled with 2 or 3 startup ideas, which, I did a lot of work on them, but they didn't really seem like pursuing, good enough to pursue. Then came Seneca. So this was something I was very interested in, the whole distraction-free smartphone. I was really interested in it. And the distraction-free smartphone bit, I knew it will take a lot of capital and money. But I was sure I wouldn't be able to raise that kind of money. What I did was I ended up writing an open pitch for Seneca. And I published it on my website and then on LinkedIn, and then it went viral, and super viral.
Wow.
30 lakh views, 3 million impressions. And that's how I got commitments. So I was raising 40 crores. Now I've already gotten commitments of 1.3 crores.
Wow.
And that is now what I'm building. So Seneca is what.
So, Nishant, I have a lot of questions based on everything you said. Can we go back to your Spot Health? You mentioned something about how you had built a community of, I think, was cyclers in Delhi, the biggest community.
Yeah, the biggest in Delhi.
So can you tell me a little bit about building a community? Because I think not only me personally, but I'm sure a lot of the viewers will be interested in that. How does one go about building a community, get all these people? And even just now you were telling me in Seneca also it went viral. So you seem to have this magic of making things go viral. So can you help us out a little bit on that?
I don't have the magic of going viral, but I've been very lucky. I've been extremely lucky with Seneca. And also with Spot Health and Testament, we had a community of people, freelancers working with, wanting to work on projects, and the entire student community which wanted to work. So what I've seen is that if you're wanting to build a community, it has to be a pull exercise. It can't be a push exercise. So let's say if you want to build a community around startup ecosystem, okay, like what you're trying to do or something of that sort.
Yeah.
It has to be a very, very pull kind of an atmosphere. Let's say if you just build a startup community hoping that people will come and stuff, it won't happen. But if there's a solid pull, okay, let's say bootstrapped companies,
Can you give me an example of a pull? What do you mean by pull? Like, for example, you built your Spot Health. So what was the pull in that?
So what happened was people were getting really, isolated. So what we realized was with the social network that Spot Health was, that people have lost their means to socialize, offline, and they are not being able to communicate with people at a community level. So we've got it fragmented and everything. And with the sports events, there was a means to, connect with a lot of people. It was like a gathering of, when we used to do cycling rallies, 200 people used to come in the morning, 5:30, winter nights, okay, in Delhi winters.
Right.
And because they were so excited with the aspect of firstly getting fitter, and then being cool about it, and then meeting people on the way.
Right.
The draw was meeting people with a twist, right?
Right.
With Testament, the community was people wanting to find work in college, interesting projects in college, and with Spot Health, as I told you, and then so this was the pull that was simply too much. So when I was dealing with tinnitus, pull was people suffering from tinnitus and not being able to find a way. So I just uploaded a video, and that video has now 1 lakh views. Organic, absolutely organic. It has like 3,000 comments.
Wow.
And now people follow me for tinnitus advice and all sorts of stuff, right? So the pull needs to be very strong. Let's say you create a community of cancer support group, Alcohol Anonymous, right?
Right.
In A. So that is the pull. The community needs to have a really solid pull. And people need to want it too much, because even if they don't need it, they might not need to cycle in Delhi winters in the smoke and smog,
right,
and everything that Delhi has, right? It's probably not even healthy for them, but they need to want it too much.
Right.
That's what we realized as far as the whole thing is concerned. That's what Seneca was also all about. That distracted people, wasting smartphones, wasting times,
right,
wasting time, thousands and thousands of hours every year. You're wasting, like, on an average, Indians spend over 5.5, 6 hours on smartphone every day. 3 hours of it is totally wasteful 3 hours, right? So they're spending 1,000 hours every year on something, like they're just making money for the tech company.
Yeah.
Looking at ads. That's what people are doing. So when I wrote about that, people connected instantly, because everybody feels that okay,
Right.
something is happening. I'm not being able to do something about it, but this is very interesting. Yeah. And so on. So this pull needs to be very, very solid as far as the
Because I think possibly a marketing specialist would say that's, you have the right USP.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's the jargonized way of saying it. USP, we call it pull, we call it.
Got it.
Yeah, it's just that.
So, Nishant, let me ask you about the finances part of it. So, obviously, the first thing you did, Testament, you started without any funding and you grew it to that point. Did you, stop me if this is any material that is confidential and you can't share with us, but was that the finances you used to start up the Spot Health? Or how did Spot Health start financially? I'm just trying to focus on finances for a little bit for the sake of our viewers, because any startup person, whether they are thinking of starting a startup or have launched a startup, finances are always a challenge. So, and there's never enough money. So, how can you speak a little bit about that?
The Testament's money went into the 3 products that we made, and
Right.
then it was over, essentially.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so then we made a little more money with Testament. We did.
So, did you sell? Did you manage to maybe sell Testament and cash out anything or no?
No. We just kept Testament as the brand. It's still on.
Actually,
And
you still have.
Yeah. So we took few more projects. The big one, really big projects.
Huh.
That sort of gave us another, bucket of cash, which we used to then build Spot Health. So some of the losses that we made, earlier with the 3 projects, the 40 lakhs, the new projects that we took at the Testament sort of helped us,
Got it.
cover those. And then we had some cash which we used to build Spot Health, and then we also got an angel investment from Pankaj Agrawal, who's the CIO Angel Network guy, and Ivy Cap, and then we also got a seed fund money of 5 lakhs. We won a competition. We got 12 lakhs from there, and then so on. So we generated some cash. Then we went on with Spot Health.
Okay. What do you think of in terms of getting investment? What do you think of the recent government sort of initiatives? And did you see much chance of something like that happening? I think under Prime Minister Modi, there's a lot of these sort of, at least that's what they report, that there's a lot of these kind of startup initiatives and all that is there to help startups. Was there any scope for that for you?
Yeah, so we won the competition. That was actually a Delhi government competition. The startup
right. That was
drive.
government only.
Yeah. So that was government money, and we got that. So we, but those things are very difficult to get through actually, mostly.
Right.
But yeah, we won that competition. That gave they promised us 21 lakhs actually. Stopped at 5. That's how these things work.
Yes, I've heard about that.
Yes. Yeah, so if they would have given us those 21 lakhs, it would have been a good runway, but then 5 lakhs just came and went. Who cares about that? Yeah.
Was there any scope of like banks, things like bank loans or something like that?
Yeah, so we don't want to take loan. Debt is very hard. Debt is only taken when you are generating free cash flows. A lot of them.
Right.
Spot Health was like development stages. Development stages, no free cash flow. Take a loan basis tech company, and you're screwed. Look what happened to Farmeasy or anybody. I mean, Byju's. You take a loan only if you can generate free cash flows.
So you need to be cash flow positive if you're then
Not
only
just cash flow positive. Cash flow positive, you can be loss making and cash flow positive.
okay, right.
But you have to be generating free cash flows at the net level. Because, you get what I'm saying, right? So, you have to generate ample money so you can at least service the debt
Right.
properly.
And in India, the debt is pretty high, right? It's like 10% almost.
No, it's higher than that actually. Now it's very less. Mudra loans and everything, they are giving very, very low interest loans to entrepreneurs.
Wow.
But earlier it was like 12%.
Wow.
Debt.
Yeah, that's a lot of servicing.
Yeah, heavy.
So,
And even if it's 6 to 8%, you can't take debt if you can't service it.
Absolutely.
It's like a sure shot way of going out. Look what happened to Cafe Coffee Day.
Right.
Siddharth sir, iconic, legendary. He had to committed suicide because of the pressure. Can you imagine?
Yeah, and you know what? Thanks for mentioning that, because that brings me to an interesting topic, which is the pressure of startups. So, in a regular job, of course, you have pressures of the job, your 9 to 5 job, or whatever, that pressure is there, and we've experienced that. I don't know if you've experienced that. Sounds like you started this from college, so I don't know if you've even done a traditional corporate job.
No, I've never done it.
No, believe me, there's lots of pressure in that world as well. But what do you say about the pressure in the startup world? And how did you feel a lot of pressure? How did you manage it, and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the hardest things you can do in life is to start up and then grow the company. Bootstrapped, and it's extremely hard. And what happens is when you're very passionate about work, your work is your identity, right? So it's
Yeah.
not just a company, it's not just a financial entity. It's basically your identity, your life's work. You
Yes.
attach yourself with it, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
so when you are so attached, its failure or success essentially
Yeah.
means your identity, what happens with you. And then that gives a lot of pressure, and people feel extremely pressured into whatever they are. Uh, you know, I was personally very uh, extremely stressed in 2018 when my three products that I was talking about,
Right.
they
Yeah.
went down one after the other, 1.5 years, and they were just like sinking money. I had to close down office in Mumbai. I had to, every 2 weeks people were leaving at my Delhi office. I was giving farewell parties, and it was just horrible because you just can't imagine that kind of stress and that sadness of
Hmm.
seeing something you've created
Absolutely.
just wither and die, and
Yeah.
you're just looking at it. It's unbelievably sad.
Yeah.
And then when it all got over in Testament, the story of Testament essentially ended in 2018 end, right?
Uh-huh.
That's when we started with Spot Health.
Uh-huh.
So prospects of new prospects are exciting. So the sadness of the past can be forgotten if you have something good to look forward to.
Yes.
Right? So Spot Health was the new North Star, and we started doing very well in Spot Health. We were growing every month, and it was awesome. And then hit COVID, and then we got screwed at COVID. And then there was
Yeah.
this extraordinary pressure of what happens if Spot Health dies. Okay, my identity as an entrepreneur was hinged on Spot Health success because Testament I had done so much work, and we had had so much of success, and we were and so many products developed. And what happens if Spot Health dies? That was a constant question because then it was end of the road for me as
Yeah.
an entrepreneur. Now I have no money, and I Spot Health dies, and I have no team left. We had people started leaving when the COVID thing happened, and Spot Health essentially became a very few people, and my co-founders were also leaving, and I'm like, now I don't have a team, now I don't have money, and my health is also screwed. Now what happens? You
Wow.
know, what do I do? I'm just done. I'm dead as disco. And
Yeah.
those kinds of thoughts really,
Yeah.
you know, stress you out. And then what happens is, if you can see a brighter future, you
Mm-hmm.
can be in pain,
Mm-hmm.
in hope of that future. So entrepreneurs are paranoid, but they are also optimistic,
Optimistic. Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So you can be very sad at the moment, but since the dream is alive, you
Yes.
are happy.
Yes.
Right? You are absolutely done. You're poor. You have no money, but the dream is alive. With Spot Health, when Spot Health ended, dream sort of died. But okay, now what do we do? Now what do I do? Forget about we. There's no we. Now
Right.
what do I do? And that is the scariest part. But
Yes.
after all that journey, I've realized it doesn't matter. It's okay. You can always build again. You can always do things again. So that's what I wrote, after Spottle died.
Mm-hmm.
When things fall apart, what happens when your worst imaginations, your nightmares come true? What happens then? You know, you
Yes.
imagine this to be the worst possible outcome for you, like your final company dying and you know, moneyless and teamless, and what happens then? I just built again, and
Right.
Seneca thing happened after a while, and I got money on an open pitch written on the
It's nice.
internet, right, without any product, and 1.3 crores of commitment. The money I never be was able to raise for Spot Health,
Right.
and this kind of thing happened, and then I sort of became viral on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and new products started coming along, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So what I've realized is that it's extremely hard, extraordinarily hard. However, uh, it's also a mindset thing. you've got to really train your mindset.
Yes.
Not, and that's very important. So health and mindset. If these two things you've got covered, you can
Yes.
conquer the stress which comes with entrepreneurship.
How about things? I mean, you mentioned that part of your startup was about healthy food and healthy eating. So I'm assuming you're a healthy eater, and that was probably very helpful for you during all of this. Um,
Yeah, I've been fairly healthy, touch wood. Apart from the COVID vaccine debilitating effect which happened to me. Apart from that, I've been, and it was nice, it was fine, But since that thing happened, the COVID thing, vaccine thing, the tinnitus and hyperacusis thing, it really like, blew me away,
right.
essentially.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's
I've had
unimaginable.
I've had some serious health issues in the past. That was quite a while back, and I'm all recovered from it now. But yes, when that happens, you're just somehow surviving from day to day. When that level of health seriousness hits you. But Nishant, what I mentioned in my YouTube channel when I do my lessons learned videos or instructional type of videos is I say, okay, it's a good idea to have exercise regimen and healthy eating and just generally a healthy life and supportive and positive people around you. And don't even start your startup until you've got that in place, is what I suggest. So, were you doing stuff like that, or can you speak to that?
I mean, you can't wait for people, positive people, in order to start. You've got to start when you start, and the best time to start is as soon as possible. However, I do believe that, it's a non-negotiable. I mean, you have to have positive people around you. You have to have a good, healthy body and mind. You've got to be fulfilled, because the journey is so hard.
Yes, it is.
If you don't have these basics covered, it's just gonna be a sad battle.
Yes, it's very very challenging. I've experienced that myself. I've encountered so many challenges along the way of my startup Finity, and it's just the stress has affected my health so much, and I knew that going in. I had a healthy regimen and whatnot in place going in, and yet in spite of that, it's been so much of a stress factor that has negatively impacted my health. In spite of all of that it's just amazing. The stress
Yeah,
levels.
absolutely. So what I've seen is that regimen and everything, they're like good, but when you get hit,
Yeah.
you get hit essentially, and when things get made and then they start falling apart, the stress is unimaginable, and it has to. But that's what I've realized. That's what I've trained myself now. That it's. I'm very very happy that way. Now I'm in a place where I can build things without getting stressed at all.
Right.
Like true stoicism.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. That's beautiful. As far as work is concerned, I'm very, very.
Well, this is your third startup now, so you're like a seasoned warrior now.
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
Now, Nishant, I had a question about failure side of things. Now, not to dredge up the past pain, but this would be helpful to me, to the viewers. In your first startup testament, when you were doing, going for those 3 products and those 3 products didn't work out, what exactly went wrong exactly? Looking back on it, could you have stopped it early and sort of cut your losses early? And then also, like, what are basically the lessons learned from that that you could share with us so that we don't make those mistakes?
So, as such, there were no wrong moves, to be honest. Those concepts were pretty solid, and the products, they were well thought out, and the strategy was optimum. No, we didn't make too much of losses. 40 lakhs for 3 products is nothing,
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
and we cut our losses very early. In fact, we
Okay.
saw market recruit, and then we saw, okay, this is the problem. Shut it down. We'll think about something else.
Okay.
Okay, and we second product and third product, cred took a year, and in 10 months, we're like, okay, done. We can't afford it anymore. Done. You know.
But I
So
mean, what went wrong though? Like, were there not enough people buying into those products? Was that the
no, no,
basic
no.
problem?
So the basic problem was money. Those kind of products can't be built in without money. And the thing is, uh, our team, the tech team, was very weak
Ah, yeah.
at that time. But we were trying hard. But we were essentially very young and new people.
Right,
And a product level, we didn't have much experience building products.
right,
So even when we were getting traction, we we were basically we were a little uh, loose as far as the tech is concerned, and
Mhm.
and those were resource challenges. You can always get better techies with money.
Right,
You can
right.
hire somebody, but we were bootstrap people, very little resources, and so on and so forth. So we did everything right as far as what the things that we in our control, with our capacity, with our
Right.
capability set, we were doing everything. But the tech team was weak, and
Got it.
they couldn't have made it any better because they didn't know how to do it.
Right. They just
And
didn't have the capability.
yeah,
Okay.
so we were doing everything good we can, and there's no lesson or formula. What clicks clicks, what doesn't click doesn't click.
So, did you, with those products, I mean, did you get to the point, did the development complete or did the dev only not complete?
No. We always had users.
Huh.
Like Cred got 5,000 users,
Right.
and the social network, the crowd-based recruitment platform got 10 lakh in revenues, and
So
we
then what was the problem? If you had users and all that, couldn't you have just grown it? Or, like, what went wrong then?
the the crowd-based recruitment platform's problem was that companies used to pay us late. It was cash flow negative.
Oh.
So even when we were making money, we had to pay the crowd first, and then our money came much later.
Yeah.
Then some companies, they used to do the typical Indian service business mindset that they used to block payments and stuff like that. So we used to go in bad debts.
Oh.
So that was the problem with Market Recruit,
Got it.
right? And the crowd-based advertising thing had another problem. It was very capital heavy, and we just made it without capital. And then we realized it's gonna take a lot of money, and let's go. And then we also realized that influencer marketing, which is a thing, influencer marketing platforms, they're not gonna survive because the companies themselves, the platforms themselves, are gonna build tools for
Right. Yeah.
creators to be able to monetize. So all the influencer marketing platforms will essentially die, and we didn't want to be in a business which we knew wouldn't survive later,
Got it.
right? So in just very very small time, we figured it out. Okay, so we are fighting against the platforms, on the platforms. So we are fighting against Facebook on Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's basically not a good idea. And
Yeah.
then that's when we built our own social network, the social network for creators,
Uh-huh.
and that was very well done. And then we realized that it also would need a lot of money, and with our resources, we'll not be able to build it. And I mean, we couldn't
Right.
scale it.
Right.
So these were very quick learnings. The tech was weak, and we couldn't raise money. That's also a reason why we couldn't hire a lot of good techies,
Yes.
to build the tech. And there's no, as such, we didn't make any mistakes. So that's what people, realize.
Right.
That's why they get stressed. That what's my mistake? What's it? It's okay,
Right.
Sometimes you don't make any mistakes, and
Right.
it just doesn't work out.
So, talking about the weak devs, which I ran into, believe me. In fact, that was my biggest challenge so far in my journey so far, has been the weak dev. And so, I have a couple of questions for you on that. Uh, what, what could you have done differently in terms of the people, the hiring of the people, and maybe you could have sort of gotten rid of the weak ones earlier and tried to get stronger devs quicker, like done a quick turnover to salvage the situation, or I mean,
No. So devs are very expensive. So
Yes.
we couldn't have gotten new devs just like that.
much-
That wasn't possible. So that's what I'm saying, right? These devs, they were weak, and they were new, and they didn't have much clue. But that was the trade-off. The expensive devs would have been very expensive, and we wouldn't have been able to build anything because we wouldn't have been able to afford them. We built the product with weak devs because weak devs is all what we had.
Or you could afford.
All you could afford.
Got it.
The co-founder, he was also a techie, but he didn't know much about it, and he was also learning on the job. So all these guys were getting trained on our money, and we were getting products out of their training. So it was like the best possible relationship. Yes, I could have been luckier with the co-founder, the tech guy. If he was like a solid 10xer kind of a person, it would have been awesome, and that would have been great. However, he was what he was, and I was very lucky to have him. So there was no mistake as such. And can we go back in time, or could we have fired the co-founders and techies and then got a new tech team? By all means, try that. It's not easy, right?
It isn't easy, because I am actually, or rather I was doing that, and I had to completely overhaul the entire dev, and it was very challenging, it was very stressful and extremely expensive. At one point it was that my startup was going to end basically at that point, but I managed to make it work out. So Nishant, let me ask you this. I think this is more a challenge we face in India. There's a lot of software dev people, but very few are good. And I'll tell you why. I mean, or rather more what my experience was, because at one point I was hiring some freelancers. So I went through like almost 10 before I found the one good one. And because they were freelancers, I could turn over very quickly, because I could just say, okay, you're done, go, and then I was paying them by the hour, and so it was a little bit easier for me to keep flipping them. But it was very expensive to even do that with freelancers. So do you have any comment on that? I think entrepreneurs in India have to be particularly careful, in my humble opinion, that the devs, you'll get a lot of devs, but they may not be very, very strong.
Yeah, of course. So there's nothing that you can only pray, and you can only find out. You can hire carefully, but at the end of the day, you don't know. The guy might ace all tests, and then he comes on the job and you find out that he was just faking all those tests. Who knows?
Well, what I do now is I hire them on a probation basis, and
even then you've got to pay for probation, right?
Yes. But then what I do is I give them a small, simple task, and then I have the senior developer who is good, that I know is good, and I tell him, okay, just you work with him, evaluate him, and let's see how well he does on this one simple task. And then if he's having problems, if he's asking...
If you have a senior developer, then you have the problem sorted, because then you have a good guy.
Right.
And he can take care of the hiring, because then you know that, okay, there's this techie, and who is good, and who's doing a good job, and he is managing hiring. Then there's not a challenge anymore.
Right.
And then it's just gonna be okay.
But see, that was my first problem, was finding this guy. It's only because I have this guy that the whole thing started working out.
Absolutely.
But so then what we do is, I just to finish my thought for the viewers, is that I let that person work on that one simple task, and if he does it in a decent manner, decent time frame, and doesn't ask stupid questions along the way, then we feel okay that he can continue on and so on. Otherwise, we just get rid of him. And then, of course, there was that much expense, but then that expense wasn't that much. So that's how I'm kind of working.
No, it's a lot of expense actually.
Yeah.
It might just be on the balance sheet, it might not show as an expense, but you spent a lot of time hiring this guy. Then you got onboarding this guy, then this guy was doing the test, and then you evaluated this guy, and then this entire exercise took you 2.5, 3 months, and then you realized, oh, this guy is an idiot.
Right.
And then you got to fire that guy. So you lost money and 3 months.
The opportunity cost is higher.
Yeah, and then so that's in just 4 of such guys in a row, and you're done. How much time do you have in a startup?
Yeah.
If you waste a year with bad resources, you're done.
Yeah.
Right? Essentially. So it's a lot of, you've got to be attracting people, and that's what I've realized, that if you're being able to attract people, a lot of people, then you're very lucky. So with Seneca, we were very lucky because we are attracting so many people, you know, and on the, like, you go viral and suddenly like thousands and thousands of people come and they want to work, or they, so you have a lot of, but if you are in a position where you are seeking, you are trying to go to people and requesting them to work with you, that's just extraordinarily hard. And that's like sort of a losing battle. But you've got to do what you've got to do.
Yeah,
Not
yeah. What
everybody
can
has
you
that
do?
privilege.
Yeah, yeah. I had the extra funding to survive what happened to me. Otherwise, like I said, it was over for me. But I managed. And then what happened? The other thing I've struck out a bit lucky on is that, as you said, because of all of this, the time got extended horribly, like horribly. But my idea is such that it's surviving that time delay. That hasn't affected the basic paradigm. So I've lucked
The
out.
social network thing that you talk about.
Yes. It's still sort of a valid idea. Let's say the idea itself hasn't been invalidated by the time extension. So I've been.
You were saying, what was it? It's a social network for?
Map-based social and business networking. And then not so much social and business networking, but trait-based or interest and hobby and trait-based. So.
Okay. Is it out?
It's going to be out very soon.
Yeah. All the best.
Thank you. So a few more things, if I may ask. Did you run into any legal issues? Trademarks, cease and desist, or other companies going, hey, that's my idea, you can't do this, stuff like that?
The only time we had to go to legal route is while recovering payments.
Right, yeah, those companies that were not paying you. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah, India is full of those assholes.
Right.
So those people, those scumbags, they
Yeah.
think they are entitled to take your money. So I always took them to court, and I always got my money.
Oh, did you? Really?
3x. Yes, all the time. So if somebody took 1 lakh from me, I took 3 lakhs from them.
But didn't the court system take a long time? Because in India it's different.
No. Nobody wants to fight the case, no?
Oh, so you got settled. It got settled before the.
Always settled.
Got it.
So I made it sure, and the amounts weren't that big, right? Let's say if you owe somebody 10 CR, then you can have a lawyer on for 10 lakhs and then not pay those 10 CR.
Right.
But our amounts were like 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 4 lakh rupees, which these people used to, and I used to take them.
Yes.
And I've never lost money like that. Nobody can ever take money from me. And that should be how entrepreneurs should be, because you can't be taking all the stress, giving all that service to people, doing all that hard work, and then some asshole just refuses to pay you.
Yeah.
No, you've got to take your money back, and that's what I tell all the people I talk to, that never, be very, very solid on your ground. If somebody takes your money, you just go for his clothes, man,
Yes.
And that's what I did. I was very lucky with the legal system that I used to send. We were very proper on the documentation always. We were very sound legally. I come from a family of lawyers, so I'm very tight that way.
Okay, good.
And and then somebody used to not pay. He's like instantly go and get. It was awesome. Every time I got 3x money.
Nice. That's good. Doing that will eventually change the culture of people thinking they can get away with that sort of thing. But that's one thing a situation I bemoan all the time, where in India it makes doing business so difficult. I come from a family of business as well, and that was we had this policy of payment first. You got to pay first, then we'll give you what we're supposed to give you. It was a product-based thing, not a service-based thing. So, and that made just the entire process of business so difficult, as compared to countries where all this isn't an issue, like America and so on.
India is a very difficult place to do business. All our overseas clients were so easy, and they used to work like dreams.
Yeah.
and they used to pay without any problem, and project used to go all fine. We used to be like, oh God, good for people who built businesses based on overseas clients, right? Good on them, man. They're so lucky. We are dealing with these chicken shit people who have who are not, and they don't even pay. Even if they pay, they take 6 months, 3 months to pay, and they've clearly stated that they'll pay in 20 days after they've written it, and then you keep following up for those thumbs, and it's just horrible. And India, that's the basic problem, right? I mean.
Yeah.
And that stems because we are so overpopulated. People don't value people, and
right. No, there's also that kind of mentality also ki get away with doing this sort of a thing. And
because because of the population.
Yes.
Right? Because there's so many people that it's fine. You can just not get away with it. Obviously, because like America has 34 people per square kilometer. We have 475.
That's right.
Yeah, we are like. So many people, so we're just like, I'll not pay this guy and then see what happens. The legal system is so overloaded. What can you do? But he doesn't realize that legal system is bad, and that can work to my benefit also. Because if I call him to court, then he has to come to the court, and for that he has to hire a lawyer. And I can call him to the court 5 times, 6 times, and then he'll have to pay the lawyer that money.
Right.
In order to avoid that, unless he screws me for hundreds of crores, then he can pay the lawyer. Like, okay, I'm gonna pay 1 CR to the lawyer and then not pay the 100 CR. That's a good deal for him.
Right.
Unless I'm in for that, it's no way out for him, man. He'll have to pay. So, India is very, very difficult that way. All our overseas clients were a breeze.
Right.
Breeze. They were so nice.
So tell me about the overseas client. Which countries did you have clients in, and how did you acquire them? And sort of what about payment processing? Because as you know, in India the RBI stuff rules and all are there. Getting money in is easy, but sending it out is challenging. So
we never sent money out, by the way, and they used to pay us without any problem. Right. And acquiring clients is concerned, when you're in the market and you're growing and you have a good name, you have a good reputation, you do good work, companies come to you. B2B is easy that way. B2B works on referrals. If some company feels that you have helped them, they recommend them to their friends. Customer acquisition for B2B, if you are working, is not hard. So that used to happen, and we used to deal with American companies, British companies. We dealt with the Ukrainian company as well, and so on and so forth. So, not many though, because our business was primarily Indians, and we had the sad fortune of dealing with Indians all the time. But otherwise, whenever those things happened, they were very nice. Payments used to happen, no problem.
Talking about customer acquisition, can you speak to me a little bit about marketing? What kind of marketing worked best for you? Digital marketing like Facebook ads, or ground level stuff like flyers, or what was?
It depends on the kind of business you are in. Testament was just me cold calling companies. Just one guy. There was no other sales guy in the company, and I used to sell.
How did you reach the right person? So when you call the company, you probably reach a receptionist or.
Hey, I want to talk to somebody from the marketing department.
Achha.
Somebody calls the IVR thing, joins up the marketing guy. Hey, we do this, we have on-ground forces, and we do your promotional activities. Can we do market research? He leads you to somebody else, and so on and so forth. So I used to be doing this all the time. I used to be reaching people on LinkedIn and emails and so on. So B2B was that. With Cred, it was Facebook ads, and all sorts of different ads. Market Recruit was also B2B. We had our freelance posters. Spot Health was ads, offline, all sorts of innovative things that we used to do.
What do you think about stuff like events?
Events are great. Yeah. Events are great. I used to go to all sorts of business exhibitions for customer acquisition.
So you'd set up a stall there and stuff?
No, I just used to go with a business card list and just talk to people.
Right.
And with Spot Health, we we conducted those rallies. Those were events, right? The cycling rallies, the running marathons, and so on and so forth. So it depends on the kind of business you are in, and all sorts of marketing channels should be explored.
Absolutely.
That's what's written in a good book. Which one is it? Traction. Traction is a good book on this. Very good book, actually. So that's what I most of the knowledge that I've incorporated, that I've learned, is through books, and I'm starting to learn from people. But as till now, I've been a very big reader. I ran a campaign for 52 books in a year for 10 years. I started in 2012 and then kept doing it for 2022.
Right.
Averaging 40, not 52. But yeah, so I ended up reading a lot of books.
I've read so many books in my life, not just these kind of motivational, instructive books, but also like novels. I'm a very big fan of well-written novels. I'm not talking about kind of those trashy, non-romance or whatever kind of stuff, but more like some, there's so much to learn from a well-written novel.
Which one's your favorite?
My all-time favorite is Shibumi by Trevanian. But a sequence of books.
Shibumi.
Shibumi. It means, it's a Japanese word which means beyond beauty. It's like this pursuit of beauty that you'll never actually achieve, but you go towards it just for the sake of it, So it's that's one thing, and then and a lot of people consider that book one of the greatest fiction books of all time. But a sequence of books that I really, really love is James Clavell, Shogun, Taipan, Noble House. Like second to Shibumi would be Taipan by James Clavell, which is a story. It's basically a true story. He's just changed the names a little bit. It's about the Opium Wars and how in Hong Kong Hong Kong was just this little muddy port, it wasn't even a city, it wasn't even a village really. And how it's become what it is, what's prompted it was the Opium Wars and the trade and all that, and how it started, and then the two big houses that still exist to this day. Sassoon Dock you must have heard of in Bombay, right? Sassoon was is the protagonist in that movie. He was one of the key traders. And the other one is Jardine, Taipan. And
I'm reading about it. This sounds like a good book.
Taipan is the word they use. I think even to this day, the richest man in Hong Kong is called Taipan. They don't say his name. He's called Taipan because that's the richest man. So it's incredibly wonderful book. I love it, and then you learn so much. You learn so much about startup just reading that, because those guys were essentially startup people. Jardine and Sassoon, they were the ones who basically built up Hong Kong, and just amazing. So I love reading myself, and anyway.
This is actually a very nice book. Thank you for this recommendation.
I think I'll do one video eventually where I'll talk about books, but I'll talk about these novels and not, because I think people have this misconception that, novels is just a waste of time or something, but I've learned so much from these, No,
I read a lot of novels actually. Earlier I used to read fiction only,
Right.
But then from 2015 I shifted to non-fiction.
Right, of course. Yeah, same here.
Then only very few books that were not fiction, and everything else was basically fiction, and I used to non-fiction. Right. And so I also read a lot of fiction, but now not so much. So for entertainment, I watch movies.
Right.
I'm a huge movie buff. Books are basically for education, but now that's changing. Now enough of education.
Right, and I think education's changing to this type of YouTube stuff, these kind of instructive videos and so on. I view these all the time, all day long. I mean, obviously I'm very busy with the startup, but whenever I have some free time or something, I watch the 15-minute instruction video and so on. So yeah, I think education is fundamentally changing, I think, from that old paradigm where you sit and you go through some boring thing and a boring teacher is completely boring you basically, to these kind of 15-minute cut, information hits, so to speak. Um, so I, just to wind up, could you tell us what your future plans are? Obviously, you're going to work on Seneca, I'm imagining. What any future you could talk to us about what your plans for that are?
So we're building this phone, Seneca. It's a distraction-free phone. We want to save thousands and thousands and millions of hours of people across the world. And we're going to be giving people their life back. We're raising 40 crores. We've raised 1.3 out of that.
Nice.
We want to be helping students actually focus on their lives. Students, executives. So it's a worthy goal. It's a mission-oriented thing. And I'm very passionate about it. I carry this phone right now because smartphones fucking waste of time. So
well, you can. Well, if I may ask, you can just filter. I mean, like for example, let's say
you can't filter. You can't filter.
Well, no, because I can just delete the. Let's say I'm wasting too much time on Facebook, so I just uninstall Facebook, right?
You can't delete YouTube on Android.
Well, sure, but then I don't go there. I don't hit that. Or
that's not how people operate.
Right.
The path of least resistance.
Right.
That's what people follow. Just like water, just like electric current, just like heat.
Right.
You follow the path of least resistance.
Right.
And apps and technology and the consumer internet, it's the least resistance path. So if I'm to read a book, which is going to take me effort, and then I have a smartphone on my side with YouTube and Instagram and Snapchat and all that dumb shit, Right. I'm not going to read the book.
You can't help yourself. You just kind of like
exactly
as an addiction,
Yeah, so it's a myth that you can't just go to the app and you just don't download those apps and just not see those apps, and you can just download an app tracker or an app which helps you not see these things. That's not how it works.
But what you just showed me, that phone. So are you guys, is Seneca actually manufacturing that phone or having it manufactured?
No, this is not Seneca. This is Nokia.
Right.
Seneca is a smartphone.
No, that's what I mean. So are you manufacturing a smartphone somewhere?
No. We're contracting it out. We are making the operating system. That's the product.
Okay, got it. And then, but then some other company is making the smartphone where you install the.
No.
Okay.
So it's called ODM. So you import the devices and they're white labeled fresh devices.
Okay.
And you feed your smart operating system on those devices. And then those new devices become Seneca.
Got it. So those devices are just regular smartphones. Good.
Yeah, they're good smartphones. So you send them specifications.
Right.
And just like every smartphone company, nobody manufactures on their own. Like very few people do, right?
Right.
So Apple uses Foxconn to contract manufacture.
Got it.
Right. So similarly, we have ODM.
I'm guessing China.
China, Taiwan. Essentially.
Right. Cool.
Essentially.
Yeah. Well, I think we've spent a lot of time here. You've been absolutely amazing. Gave us a lot of valuable information. I'm sure a lot of users are going to have their startup journey go smoother because of this. So thank you so much. If there's any last minute advice you want to give us or the viewers, anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Just relax and try to. So what I've noticed is that you attract what you want to attract, and you attract what you really believe in. So if you're attracting a lot of sadness and attracting a lot of stress, attracting a lot of challenges, it's basically because you're wired that way and you're thinking in that direction. You've got to not do that, and things sort of start working out. Mindset is an extremely important tool, and if you can train yourself to just be like that, where you're like a stoic and you're attracting the good things, it just helps so much that you can't imagine. Things start magically working out for you.
Right.
And it's all about magic. People tell you that do this, do that, some books and all sorts of techniques. Of course, you've got to be very, very solid on the knowledge front, But none of that matters, you know. It's all magic at the end of the day. Whom you meet, a person can change your life. You meet a good techie, you become
Right.
best friends with him, then you end up making something so solid that everything else just, you know.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Your video's gone. Um,
Okay.
yeah, you're back now.
Okay, I don't know what happened. So everything else just disappears because you
Right.
got this. So you got to attract luck and magic for you,
Right.
and that's what is most important because concepts fade, math doesn't work out. You know, just think about all the success stories of this world, the success stories. They don't make sense. You know,
Right.
doesn't make sense. Of course, they're not rational decisions which investors have taken. Of course not. It's attracting that kind of luck.
Right.
That's what you got to focus on. You know, attract good luck. How can you attract good luck? There are a lot of good books on that, like almost anything and still win big, and so on and so forth. You got to be, attracting that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, your voice cut out there. What was the author you mentioned? Sylvan Big?
How to Fail at Almost Anything and Still Win Big by Scott Adams.
Okay, Scott.
No, you got to. Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy.
Yes, that's why I was laughing at.
Yeah. So great author, great guy. And now I'm connected to him, you know.
Really?
He gives me advice and stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
And so you got to attract, as an entrepreneur, you got to attract that kind of luck. Focus on being lucky. Focus on how you can be lucky. Because that's something that nobody teaches, nobody tells you to do, nobody has instruction manuals on. You know, it's art. And if you figure that out, it's gonna be so nice. And
Right.
it's just everything works out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So Nishant's information is down in the description below this video. So we wish him the best, and we're hoping for great things for you and Seneca. And I hope it all works out wonderfully for you.
All the best to you too for the map-based social network for professionals and companies.
Finity.
I hope it worked out. Yeah. I'm sorry, what is it called?
The name is Finity. Finite. Finity. Finity.com.
Perfect. Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful name. I really hope it works out for you. All the best and please take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.